Hello, Geekscapists. Welcome to a brand new Geekscape podcast. I'm Jonathan London, your host. And if this is your first Geekscape, well, strap yourselves in. We're going to be talking movies, video games, comic books, some TV, and really everything that's kind of a part of the geek sphere right now. We'll be talking a little bit of news and reviews. Our good friends Chris Mancini and Fernando Pinto, who's responsible for the Geekscape logo, and much, much more. We're going to be talking about the return of their series, Rise of the Kung Fu Dragon Emperor. They've been on the show before. They've been kickstarting their comics. They're going to be talking a bit about the creative process, working together again, and what you can expect from the second volume of that book and how you can help out. Katie's going to be joining me. She's back, and I'm really sorry about not having an episode for y'all next week. Y'all are like, oh, it's fine. Don't worry. We're only here for Ian Kerner when he talks about things like, I don't know, whenever he has the Marvel and DC specials. Everybody loves Ian Kerner. I love Ian Kerner, so it makes sense. But we do talk a little bit of movies and the comics. Let me think what's going on in the geek sphere right now. Why I didn't have an episode last week, I was just like triple, quadruple. What's past quadrupled? Pentupled? Booked with work. And I just had to text Katie. I was like, I don't have it in me. I just can't find the hour of the week to do a Geekscape episode and then clean it up and get it out to y'all. That's just what happened. I got swallowed by work. I got a little greedy. I had some creative clients, and I took on another creative client, and then my producer, Jay Williams, called and was like, Jonathan, I need some help with some work before CinemaCon, which is going on right now. It's like the big theater sales thing going on in Vegas right now, and they needed some help on this new project. And I swooped in, and I guess I triple dipped on client work, and that was awesome for everything but my stress level. I like making stuff, man. I like making stuff. And when people are like, hey, you want to make some stuff? I go, hell yeah, I want to make some stuff. And I don't know when to say no. And that's what happened last week. So I did not make a Geekscape episode for you, and I'm really sorry. You know how rare that is. But we're back now. And guess who else is back? Because we're back now. My friend Katie.
What's up?
Katie's caffeinated.
I'm definitely caffeinated with my Ted Lasso mug. Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I feel you on the taking on too much work, though. I feel like I just said a tentative yes to someone that I was like, am I going to have time for this? I don't know.
Our longtime old Geekscape writer, Eric Diaz, we were trying to find a way to have dinner, and I just straight up was like, hey, man, mid-September, that's like a month from now. I said, I'm sorry, it's going to be a month from now. I just want to be safe with not canceling on people. Let me tell you, I had Fernando and Chris, who were on this episode. They were supposed to be on last week's episode.
Oh, no.
And I was like, I don't know if I've heard back from Chris. I hadn't heard back from Chris because they were going to record on Wednesday. I don't even record on Wednesdays. I had written an email that was full of garbage. It was like, y'all want to do... I had asked them to do a podcast on Wednesday. I only do the show on Mondays for the most part.
Sometimes Tuesdays. Occasionally.
Sometimes Tuesdays. But now, like, Matt Kelly is trying to, like, put Twitch streams on Tuesdays. And, like, we're trying to put a lot of cool content up on the YouTube page, on the Twitch. We're trying to do a lot of cool stuff. And our podcasters are doing a great job with it.
Yeah.
But
the network is doing great. You know what? You gotta delegate, man. You gotta delegate. It's the hardest thing, especially when you have a baby. You gotta delegate some tasks. Somebody's gotta change the diaper. That's Matt Kelly.
Matt Kelly.
That's Matt Kelly. Somebody's gotta burp the baby.
In support of the baby, please understand that we have that Patreon that we just started for Matt Kelly because he's running a lot of this stuff. And we recorded a Patreon episode earlier this morning. So if y'all want to hear that, because you won't get it on this feed, you got to go support Matt's Patreon for Geekscape. Like, this stuff will help Geekscape, and we'll find some stuff to release. We finished filming a short over the weekend. We did a lot of stuff. I'm like falling apart. Christopher Robinson says, maybe you should get an assistant. Hey. That would be Matt Kelly.
I don't know if he's an assistant so much as
Matt's not really an assistant. He's kind of like the network. He's just running the damn thing. Our good friend David Wiltzback, he's been on the show with comments before, saying one of the favorite series I used to watch was Hercules: The Legendary Journeys. Ryan Reynolds played the main character in a prequel called Young Hercules.
I didn't know this.
I don't think it was Ryan Reynolds. I think it was, what's his name from The Notebook?
Oh, whoa.
Help me with this. You have a poster of
Gyllenhaal?
Wait, Heidi's calling me from the other room. Heidi, help me out here.
I'm so mad at myself.
It's another Ryan. It's Ryan Gosling.
That's
Ryan
right.
Gosling was Young Hercules.
I'm not much of a rom-com person. It takes a lot for me to watch a rom-com.
Ryan Gosling was also in that rom-com called Drive, where a bunch of people got mutilated.
I did see that. I did see that. I didn't see Notebook though.
Why would I see that? I lived it. No, I did not know that was that. Okay. That was a lie. I did though. While we're talking about Ryan's, I thought about you, Katie.
Oh, that's nice. It's always nice to be thought of.
I think about you all the time. But I went to see this movie, Free Guy, with Ryan Reynolds, aka Katie the movie, basically. Because let me just drop it real quick for you, and then we're gonna get Fernando and Chris in here. Okay, Free Guy was a lot of fun, and it's Ryan Reynolds, and he's playing an NPC in like a world that's basically Far Cry / GTA, hyper violent, but it's also got mechanics like Fortnite and stuff where you can build. It's basically got a lot of shout outs to a lot of your favorite video games. You're gonna recognize a lot of the language there.
I love that.
It's got some deep cuts. Look out for the Mega Buster for Mega Man, little things like that. And so you got this NPC-filled open world city, and Ryan Reynolds one day starts getting a little bit of sentience and isn't just the guy who works at the bank. But there are a bunch of players in the world, of course, and the players have sunglasses on, and that allows them to see things like the heads-up display in a video game, like select their weapons, select their power-ups, and also see the missions and things like that are floating in the world. And it's a lot of GTA, it's a lot of hyper violence, it's a lot of fun and cartoony. But
Sunset Overdrive-y.
Yeah, and this character ends very Sunset Overdrive-y, and this character ends up getting the sunglasses. And meanwhile, in the real world, you've got a programmer. You got two programmers, and they're kind of, one of them's working for the company, the other one's basically thinking that the company that's run by Taika Waititi, playing a bad guy, is
I love when he
had stolen their original game's code and used it as the spine, as the framework for this world. So there's like a super popular. It's the most popular game in the world. Ryan Reynolds' character lives in it. His name's just Guy. He works at a bank, and this programmer thinks that the code for her game has been stolen and is the basis for the framework for this very popular game, and so she plays the game. She's the love interest that you see in the trailer, and she plays this game. And she's
played by what's her name not Orphan Black.
You're gonna have to look it up, Katie. I'm trying to run a podcast now. I'm so sorry. No, look it up right now. I'm serious.
Also, I wanted to mention that it's Quintuple, which comes out.
Quintuple. Quintuple. Yeah, you got it. I like it. Okay, I got Quintuple booked. So, so she's in the world trying to find any evidence that her code is in there, and she runs into Ryan Reynolds, and maybe they're the solutions to each other's problems inside the game. They got to figure this out. I got to tell you, you knew it was going to be a lot of fun. You knew this movie was going to be. I just thought it was great. What I didn't expect with this game was when Taika starts losing his stuff, his shit, and saying like, "Reboot the system, erase them." This is this. That we started to actually have a little bit of a discussion about the morality of AI and what makes people human, and this and that. I didn't expect it from Free Guy, but it's cool. In there and it's fun. So go see this movie if you enjoy video games, because it's a perfect movie that shouts out some of your favorites. And of course, if you like Ryan Reynolds, you like the comedies and this and that, go see it. I don't want to tell you too much because there's a lot of fun Easter eggs in it. And the part that surprised me the most wasn't just how much I enjoyed this movie. It's that conversation that started being like, wait. If he is now developing sentience as an NPC, what is the moral obligation to keep him alive instead of just pulling the plug on this whole thing?
Yep.
As he gets further and further in developing his own personality. So Free Guy was awesome. Definitely dug it. And I thought about you because you're always playing the Fortnite.
I am, and he's actually in Fortnite now. They put him in as like little stopping posts where you can get new missions and things. It's a lot of fun, and some of the missions are like get hit by a car. It's very funny.
And Chris Robinson asked me if I needed an assistant. I have an assistant, Chris. She just reported in. Heidi says she's
Jodie Comer from Killing Eve. Thank you.
The lead actress is Jodie Comer from Killing Eve, who's also in The Duel that's coming out, the Ridley Scott movie.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Totally different. Let me see. Chris Robinson says, I actually heard the movie sucks, but you haven't led me astray yet, so I'll check it out.
Okay.
Yeah, Chris, you know what? People, what is that sound?
I think it's my blinds. I can go boot those.
Well, your blinds are haunted?
Yeah, they're haunted.
Geekscape, do you hear the click clack patty whack that's going on over here in Katie's world?
I can also get my assistant to come in and tape those down.
Mark? Come tape out the blinds. Don't you run streaming games for like during the day and nobody complains about the haunted blinds?
Yeah, no, only because just now the wind started to blow and I forgot that I had the windows open. So this is coming from a guy who regularly records with sirens in the background.
Because I live in the world from Free Guy.
Yeah, and I live in a haunted world, so, you know.
You live in Luigi's Mansion. I live in Liberty City. I think this is the way it goes. I live in San Andreas, and you live in freaking Luigi's Mansion. Casper comes by. Yeah. All right, well, now you know what we're working with here. Why don't we haunt our listeners with some guests? Yeah, that's right, Chris. Get ready to become on camera. Our good friend Chris Mancini returns to Geekscape, as does the man who helped start the Geekscape. That would be our good friend, Fernando Pinto. Let me get that banner off the screen. Fernando.
Hello again.
Hey, guys.
We would not have a Geekscape logo without Fernando Pinto. And I would not have a barometer for whether or not I'm funny if not for Chris Mancini, who ran the Comedy Film Nerds podcast for a very long time. And as I told Katie, I was like, you're going to want to be on this podcast because Chris is very in tune with the stand-up world here in LA, the comedy world globally, and he's a fantastic writer and comedian. And they have this new book out that is getting Kickstarted right now. It's called Rise of the Kung Fu Dragon Master. I'm sorry. Please don't hit me.
So close. Yeah.
I was Rise the Kung Fu Dragon Master. And they got a little Kickstarter. We'll talk about it here in a bit. But if you want to know about it right now and you're watching the show and you're like, no, I want to know now, then just visit whitecatentertainment.com. You can find out about it.
Fantastic.
Boys, why is there a volume 2?
Because volume 1 was successfully funded, and we had to break up the story into 2 bite-sized pieces for people. And because I don't like doing like issues. Like I kind of like, because we come from a film background, I like doing everything at once. So my graphic novels are at least like 100 pages or more at a time. So when you break,
it's a lot of pages.
I was just gonna say Fernando.
That's very true. Yeah.
Chris just likes to run at the mouth, and Fernando's
it's like now 57 ninjas come through the door. I'm like, God damn it.
All right,
Fernando, do you do per frame? Like, what's the rate?
How do you charge this guy? He thinks you're George Perez all of a sudden.
It's always when it's a script too. I'm like, oh well, this can't be that many pages. Then when you convert it to the actual comic book script, I'm like, oh yeah, there's a one page as a fight scene that goes 4 pages. So there's clearly a lot more panels than we start with.
I actually want to ask you about that. So you Tyrant, you actually write this in like Final Draft or in screenplay format, and then you put it into OpenScript?
I do. I break it down because I like kind of, I've been writing screenplays for so long that I actually start that way, and then I convert it to a comic book script, and then go from
You're
panel
a monster.
to panel. Yeah.
See? And then I don't see my family for 6 months.
Oh, Fernando.
That's basically how it goes.
Yeah. No, I mean, I remember writing comics, and I wrote them in OpenScript. And I think Brian Michael Bendis does the same thing you do, Chris. He writes in Final Draft or one of the screenplay formats. And Brian Michael Bendis is one of the biggest comic book writers of the last 20 years, and he should be respected as a very successful and prolific writer. But he has, even within Final Draft or whatever screenplay format he uses, he has like a specific, this is a comic book, I will economize it as such, so that when I transfer it to an artist, the artist doesn't hate me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I go the other way.
Oh no, Fernando, how you doing? I just want to check in just randomly. Fernando, how are you?
My hands, they hurt.
I'm just trying.
They do not work anymore.
I will say this, that as I was kind of learning the format and, getting from screenplay to comic book form, Fernando was very patient.
This is not your first comic.
Yeah, no, it's very patient. And the learning curve was a lot less on the second time around. And I'll tell you, if I didn't have such a patient artist, I might not be making a third book. So
I don't think he would be either.
It's been a really good experience. I know. But it's basically, I tell Fernando, like, all right, well, what are you doing from April to October? That's
right.
Wow.
No, okay. Basically, like Chris will put like a bunch of panels, and every once in a while I'll be like, all right, you don't need 3 panels for this. I'm just gonna do a big one so you can get like more of an action shot. And Chris is like super open to that. So and like the working relationship has all the edges have been smoothed out after over 200 pages of comics. So
you had to berate him first, though, right? Like.
A little bit.
Or did you just do this thing where like
Fernando gave me gentle instruction? We'll put it that way. So
Chris probably gets some pages back, and you're like, "Hey, Fernando, it's missing the thing that it didn't need." Yes, Chris, it is.
Well, and that's with pictures. That's what's so great. Like when you have a good collaborator, and we've gotten to like a shorthand now. Like I'll even just before I even describe like a page or a panel, sometimes I'll just shoot him an email and say, "Look, how would this work better? How many panels? How should we do it?" And he's like, "Oh, we should do this." Great. And then we do it. And then sometimes it's like, well, I really want you to draw those extra panels. And so we go back and forth, and it's a better book for it. Like, because comics, like filmmaking, is a collaborative effort. Like if you have a great collaborator like Fernando, like it just makes the book better because he sees things that I don't see, and I see things that he may not see. And it's it makes a better book in the long run.
Fernando, do you agree with that?
Yes, I do. That no one is forcing me to say these words. I do agree. No, actually, Chris is open with it. I think when you first start working with anybody, you're very protective of what you want to do. Like Chris would see it one way, I would see it one way. I'd be like, no, this shouldn't be like. So after a while, you get to know each other and you get to like a certain rhythm. Then the conversation is a little more open. Like when you start, it's always a little difficult maybe. But by now, like we did Long Ago and Far Away, and that was like 180 pages or something. Yeah. The first volume of this was 80 something pages, and now we're doing a third comic. Yeah. So now it's working by now. Yeah.
There's a shorthand. The other thing too, I'm noticing with Fernando, like he's getting my sense of humor, like in the panel too. Like he'll draw something like, oh, this is going to be funny, but he makes it like even funnier. Like there's a fight in a coffee shop coming up with a big martial arts fight in a coffee shop, and he drew it where I was like laughing out loud. I had already written it. I knew what it was supposed to look like, but the way he drew it added like another level of funny to a coffee shop martial arts brawl.
Now, what is it that you do, Fernando, that kind of brings the funny a little bit out?
Oh, Katie,
I know it's a
Katie,
whole thing. I'm trying to get Mark to come in and do this thing.
How far away is that window? Turn the camera. Let me see this window. Okay, Geekscape, we're gonna do this right now. There's the window. We're not gonna watch Katie go and close it. No, keep it. Just
no, because you're gonna see my pajama pants. Oh. We're not doing that.
Okay, Katie, sneak off. And is that Mark? Is Mark in the room?
That was Mark. He's in a towel right now.
Definitely turn the camera. Let's see this.
Not doing that.
Nope. You guys are in Zoom wardrobe.
It's just got awesome.
I
get the hose.
But
so if I didn't do what she asked, I get the hose.
But OnlyFans is closing. We need this.
I know. Right?
Mark, you're our OnlyFans now.
Mark is just gonna be. He's gone now.
October.
Windows closed.
Sorry about that, listeners. We just had a little bit of almost visual humor. Fernando's going to do a punch up on it here in a little bit.
There you go.
To make it funnier.
I'll just make it funnier.
Yeah, sorry about that. It was 28 pages when Chris got done with it, and we.
So what I was really trying to ask Fernando is like when you get like a funny scene and you take a look at it, like what are the first things like that you consider in order to make it like that extra mile of funny or like to bring that out?
I will be completely honest with you. I'm not thinking about Chris. I'm just thinking about myself and trying to make myself laugh.
Sure.
And apparently that works with Chris, so we're good.
But also this guy.
Yeah,
this is what he gets for writing a 200-page script.
Yeah.
If I try to read whatever, like I don't know, I just visualize it. Like I just see it in some way in my head, and I think after like years of just watching funny stuff, you get a sense for it, and that's sort of my thing anyway. Like all of the projects that I've done by myself, I usually like have a comedic slant to them. So that's kind of what I like. So I think it just works. I think.
And Chris, you don't add panels or any of that?
No, I do. I break down the panels.
But you put it in
from page to page.
You put it where the action would be in a screenplay, and you use the slug lines, I'm guessing, as panel one, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Wow, this is like super technical.
We're really getting into the weeds on
y'all have been on the show multiple times, and I want to know about this stuff because just out of my own self-interest, I like writing scripts. I did not enjoy writing comics because of the economy the format. Like you had to break it into a certain economy, and it felt like I was shot listing and writing a comic, or it felt like I was writing in like shot listing at the same time, and there's just not a whole lot of flow. So I understand why Chris does it. I understand why Brian Michael Bendis just opens up and lets it fly. If there's a way around it, and I was like, no, let's just focus on story and character first, and then let's see. Then you can always direct visuals. Obviously, you could say you only give the audience, when you're writing a script, you only give the audience what you want them to see, and that's how you direct on the page. Here, you're really getting literal with it. Mm-hmm. Bolt T says, wait, what's the name of the character on the Geekscape logo? Oh, do you know that, Fernando? I know that, obviously.
I didn't know that there was a name for it.
Yes.
Fernando's like, I don't know.
Fernando, you didn't know? Yeah, we've always had a name for the Geekscape logo character.
It's Doug, isn't it?
It's always been Johnny Zapp.
Oh.
You didn't know that, Fernando?
I did not know the name of my child. I'm sorry.
It's Johnny Zapp, and it graces the leg of our own listener Frank Sanders. He got that tattooed on his leg.
No way, that's awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
yes.
Great.
I didn't know.
Oh wait, hold on, they're coming.
Okay,
they're coming.
Now,
GTA. Mark, can you come make sure that this ambulance doesn't go past our window again?
you just see a guy in a towel walk by you.
He puts a ramp in front of him. He puts like a bunch of stuff in front of my apartment.
Heidi, just put a beard on.
Heidi, can you put She's the beard in this relationship.
Yeah, we knew
that, but... I wasn't going to say that, but I thought it.
Let's be very clear. So, is this just a continuation of the story, or is it did it actually lend itself to two pieces? Is it two pieces? Is there a third waiting for us?
It is a continuation of the story. There's going to be 3 volumes broken up into 2 parts. This is Rise of the Kung Fu Dragon Master, Volume 1 and 2. Then it's kind of following like an 80s movie format. Then it'll be Fall of the Kung Fu Dragon Master, Volume 1 and 2, and then Return of the Kung Fu Dragon Master, Volume 1 and 2. And then that will be the saga of the Dragon Master.
You don't want Son of Dragon Master?
Well, we'll see how it does. Then, if somebody wants to milk a franchise further than its prime, yeah, we'll jump the Dragon Master shark if we need to.
You know what? Speaking of kung fu, y'all see Sonny Chiba died.
Yes, very
sad.
What the
he did?
Fuck.
Yeah, that was sad.
All these motherfuckers couldn't kill him, and then he died of COVID complications. You know how many people in those movies tried to kill him?
When I first saw the news, it didn't say what he died of, but then it was COVID complications.
It was COVID complications. And Sonny Chiba, we used to stay up all night in college watching Street Fighter and Sister Street Fighter and all those movies. But you got to see this. Have you seen Street Fighter, Katie? You're gonna love it. Talk. I mean, have you seen it, Katie? There's a scene where this dude is trying to rape this woman, so Sonny Chiba climbs in this window to rescue her, and is like, "Fuck that! I'm gonna rip his nuts off."
Yep.
And he punches the dude to double him over, and then reaches off camera. And when he rips his hand back on camera, he's holding a whole bunch of pants and just bloody nut. What?
Wait. So you're telling me that right now I'm on Geekscape talking about a movie called Street Fighter, and it's not the Van Damme one? Like, what happened to this show, man?
No. Like, we're talking about the Street Fighter. The Street Fighter is Sonny Chiba. Street Fighter is
right.
How many Street Fighter movies were there? There was a bunch.
There was a bunch, and they were all very campy.
There were like 2 or 3 Street Fighter movies. There was Sister Street Fighter, which is pretty great. I think there were 3 or 4 if you include Sister Street Fighter. And you may have, if you haven't seen this movie, Fernando, you definitely have seen True Romance, and that's the movie that he's watching in the Vista at the beginning of the movie. He's watching Street Fighter.
And it's such a classic 70s, pulpy type of film where, he's a criminal, but he's a master fighter, and every woman in the movie that he kisses doesn't want him to at first, but then kind of warms to him.
Kind of gets into it, yeah. It's a very confusing element where it's just like, I think this is where I figured out what white knighting was.
I'm changing my mind after this very forceful kiss. Well. Yes, it's...
There's a little bit of James Bond, like, rapiness to that.
1,000,000,000%.
Thank you.
Just have to say it's
like
very
a little
refreshing that someone else noticed that, like it's nice for us to look back on those and be like, yeah, maybe not the greatest message to send out to kids.
You know what, Street Fighter, next time rip your own nuts off.
Rip your own nuts off, guys. That's what we gotta get for the takeaway.
I love that there are Geekscape listening to this being like, yo, I'm gonna watch that movie with the dude gets his nuts off. And let's go see that.
Look it up.
I don't think a lot of people know that Sonny Chiba was in Kill Bill too. He was the one. He was the sword maker. I mean, it was one of his final roles.
Hattori Hanzo.
He was Hattori Hanzo. He was also our friend Brian T, who's been on the show, was in Tokyo Drift with Sonny Chiba. And if you're a Fast and Furious fan, Brian T played the bad guy, and I think the gang lord was Sonny Chiba. And so I've only seen Tokyo Drift once. I mean, I really should revisit it.
Now, was he playing the same character he did in Street Fighter? Was it
the Street Fighter?
Yeah. He's been in that.
Wait,
go ahead. What?
That's the one with the kid from Home Improvement, right?
No, Tokyo Drift is the one with the kid from
No. Yeah, but before the guy gets like sent to Tokyo, he races the kid from Home Improvement, right?
Jonathan Taylor Thomas?
No, the other one, like the blonde one. I think
all I know
that was JTT.
Zachary Ty Bryant, I think it is.
Zachary Ty Bryant, who was in Vikings.
I don't know.
I think he's in Vikings. All I know is, having seen all the Fast movies, Tokyo Drift, you get this kid from Sling Blade who plays I'm gonna go to Tokyo, I'm gonna race, and he's fine. Suddenly, when you watch this Fast 9, they assassinate his character. He's playing like a hillbilly who like blows things up with gasoline to build a rocket engine. And I was like, that's not the same character. They pretty much made him look like a buffoon, which led me to think about...
Wait a minute. Are you saying Fast and Furious retcons characters?
Listen, pal.
What?
All sorts of stuff retcons characters. You're about to get it. Listen, if we're going to talk about Marvel's What If, which we probably should, we should probably talk about Marvel's What If. We're going to talk about retconning, because there's actually something to think about here. I heard that Marvel's What If is actually going to be a little bit of a setup for a retconning of the Marvel universe already. If you have you heard this rumor?
what
that
part
sounds
of the
like
Marvel universe.
that sounds like DC propaganda to me.
I think. Well, I think we're talking about the ABC shows,
like as in Agent Carter,
and possibly the Agents of
Shield,
and possibly some of the Netflix stuff.
Oh, that makes sense.
We're gonna just covering Fernando up in this.
Mike Wazowski or some shit.
Oh, the Netflix, that makes sense because that is not the Disney brand for Marvel that they want right now.
But right now we're watching this What If. We've gotten 2 episodes in, and even though they look like separate episodes so far, I think there are 8 in the season. It's becoming clearer and clearer that the What If is going to become its own cohesive continuity as these storylines, I think, are going to start blending together. We've only really seen, or the ones that were released to press, I think they only released the first 3 or 4 episodes of press. And I think that once we get further into the season, we start to realize that there's some overlapping and connections, and that it's its own little MCU. But
well, I mean, look, the multiverse has been cracked open, and the Disney Plus TV shows have definitely invested in that aspect. And I think we're going to see a little bit more of that in the films, but we're also not going to have to re-explain every single episode of things that people haven't watched in the films. So I think, I don't know if retconning necessarily, but I'm sure there's like some, like, I feel like, Peggy Carter's character in What If, I think she's going to come in at some point into the actual movies.
Live action.
The live action movies.
That'd be cool.
Get her while you can,
Yeah.
Well, once you open up the, the multiverse and, Earth, even like in DC Earth 2 or whatever, it's you kind of open up all the kind of possibilities for crossovers and different universes, but also you run the risk of very lazy writing. Because they're like, well, no, it's an alternate universe. We could do whatever we want, and there's no consequences. So I hope they don't fall into that well.
I don't think the plan is kind of going that way. Is at least from the most recent shows. And like, look, I am very vocal about being a big fan of the Disney Plus shows. Like every week, I'm just like, oh my God, Disney's killing it, because they are, and I feel like they're doing the little things that a lot of like the comic book nerds want to see. They're doing a lot of the things that like the fans of the movies kind of want to see or want to know more about. I feel like they're kind of making a nice balance between all of the lore, all of the fun, and all of like what can move forward. It feels like they didn't just crack open like all the comic books. They cracked open the entire multiverse, and it feels like they're taking their time with it, and I love it.
And the deep cuts that are there are good deep cuts.
Yes.
Like I'm enjoying in this last episode when the Collector, you get a little bit more of Benicio del Toro's Collector. There's a fight sequence where he's pulling out different kinds of weaponry, and there's some deep cuts in there, and there's some fun stuff in that sequence of the Collectors.
Now, I don't remember him being so buff, too, even in the comics.
It was almost anime how fantastic he was. It was awesome.
I love the art style in this series.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
Fernando, I wanted to know your opinion and if that's kind of the style that you like as well. Or
I mean, it's not the only style I like, but it's gorgeous. I read somewhere that they're basing a lot of the style on the old J.C. Leyendecker paintings from like the 40s and 50s, and putting them through this new like CGI filter, and the way they use lighting and volume and the animation itself is gorgeous. Like even if you don't like the stories, I just think they're gorgeous to look at. So just on that front, I'm all in.
And if you don't like the stories, there's a whole different one coming up the next week.
Exactly. Well, unless they like cross them all together and they have to watch all of them to get whatever the hell's going on.
I think they're going to start. I mean, my assumption, and I've been talking about this with Ian, and of course, because he's the encyclopedia of comic book knowledge, at least Geekscapes, and we think that they're going to start being these what if stories that are like, oh, it'd be cool if this and that. They're going to start mattering to the bigger framework. And what I've said on the show before is that it obviously reminds me of like a Don Bluth animation style, which I really love. I think the next episode we're going to start seeing like the zombie Cap and zombie Hawkeye and stuff like that. And that stuff just reminded me of like when you die in Dragon Slayer and like you turn into bones and stuff. The Don Bluth darkish animation, but the writing is really good too. I thought that the treatment of T'Challa, I thought that was really nice, and it was dedicated to Chadwick Boseman.
I thought the second one definitely felt more coherent than the first one. Like the first one with the Red Skull and Captain Britain, it felt like a little rush. Like we have to hit all of Steve Rogers' story points before 30 minutes runs out. Whereas the T'Challa Star-Lord one really felt like its own kind of thing, where it took its time and went in its own direction. So I hope we see more of that.
I just love that the message of that episode is that Star-Lord is a dick.
Yeah, original Chris Pratt version is
exactly. Like he's the worst.
And that T'Challa as a person just makes everyone better.
Exactly.
Like,
I just love that was the through line of the whole episode.
That was the best. Was when
he's like,
the accuser,
I'm a sucker for a good argument.
He's hunted by the accuser, and the accuser's like, "Oh, I'm the biggest fan ever." And you're just like, and now he's just like a fanboy. He turns everybody into a fanboy. He turned Thanos into a teammate. I was like, this is great.
That was fantastic. And can we just talk about Djimon Hounsou's performance of being? I've never heard him be so goofy before, and I want to see Djimon in a comedy now. Like that's something that I need from all of this, because I was like, he's going so fast, and like he's just like beautiful movies, and I love his performances every time I see him. He's also very tall and very beautiful in person. Just putting that out there, but like this comedy was something that I did not expect, and I was like, I want more of that somewhere.
Yeah, What If is actually becoming something that's not just, it doesn't matter to the bigger MCU. I can skip it. I think it's going to matter. And that being said, because of the multiverse that got opened up in Loki, I think that they can try and soft reboot, retcon, whatever they want. Those ABC shows are still going to matter. The Netflix shows are still going to matter. Those characters might come back in different forms. There's a rumor that Matt Murdock is in the next Spider-Man movie. As a lawyer, you're going to see Charlie Cox's Daredevil come back, supposedly. But I think it all matters. It'll always matter. And I know what Chris is saying with, hey, we can get a little more loose goose with the writing because it's multiverse. The flip side of that, although I agree that definitely happens, the flip side of it is, but if you enjoy the story, even Inhumans, it still matters to you. Even ABC's Inhumans, it can still matter to you. It doesn't have to just be scraped away. Bolt T asks, well, will there be any new characters introduced in What If? Sentry, maybe, in the zombie story? I mean, Sentry is like a pretty heavy hitter. When it comes to the power set on Sentry, we're talking about a Superman with like really bad personality disorder, and maybe has like, Sentry's a tough one. Introducing Sentry into the MCU, you're introducing a pretty major. That's like introducing a Captain Marvel. Is like
that would be something that like people would like hear, like, they're casting so and so for. Who would you guys cast for Sentry?
I mean, again, I would steer clear of putting Sentry in the MCU because he's such a Superman comparable, and he breaks your plot in the same way that Captain Marvel breaks your plots because they're so OP.
That's why you take her off planet.
You take her off planet for like with like a throwaway line. I had to go check on those places. I had to go check on those places. Thanos isn't effective.
I gotta say, it's my favorite. It's my favorite superhero move when Captain Marvel just busts through all of the planes. That's my favorite.
Remember me? Yeah, thanks. If you hadn't left, this movie would have been 10 minutes long. Thank you.
Well, I mean, they have to do that with the next Marvel movie too. Like, it's actually even in the trailer with the
Eternals. Yeah,
the Eternals. Like, well, why didn't you help with the the war?
We weren't supposed to.
Yeah, we weren't supposed to. No, we were here the whole time.
But we were also kind of getting that as well in Loki with the time.
The Time Lords.
Yeah. Time Lords, where they were like, well, why didn't you just stop Thanos? Originally, it was like, or like the Avengers went back in time. What about that? And they're like, it was
supposed to happen.
Yeah, that was part of the timeline. You don't understand.
I mean, like, I did understand, like, with like the sacred timeline and everything. Sure, that like that made sense in their context, but when you've got all these different things that you could actually retcon an entire.
Yeah. But it's almost like a meta homage, to like the way Stan Lee would build all this shit up, because like every month he'd be like, well, now this happens and now this other thing happens.
They had to keep covering
it's kind of the way comics have always been made.
And this is like the overall story that affects everything in the Marvel universe, or that affects everything in the DC universe. And then you have all of these big stories. But then you would have them all the time. Like, well, what about that last big story? Yeah, that's over. We're doing another one now.
I think Disney is like, wait, we have to mail people no prizes now? Like, remember when you remember in Marvel, like, you caught a continuity error and you would write to the editor and be like, wait, this doesn't make sense, because you would get a no prize of the editorial. I'm waiting for watching a movie. This is getting so dense that, like, when you watch a movie, there should be a little caption that shows up at the bottom with an asterisk that says editor's note, and it explains what you had to watch in order to watch this part.
Well, they could probably do that in like Disney Plus. Just like a little window pops up, like, you should watch this to understand what they just said.
The Celestials
no prize watch party.
It feels a little like Amazon Prime when you can pause it and see what actor it is. And
just exactly.
Like,
and someone at VH1 is like hanging themselves now. I did that with pop-up video 20 years ago.
Correct.
You don't want to learn about TLC? I did get pumped when I saw the full shot of the Celestial in the Eternals trailer. I was like, yeah, baby, bring the weird. We've seen Celestials before. Peter Quill's father Ego is a Celestial. We saw the head of a Celestial in Guardians. Like,
very brief moments.
There have been Celestials, but to see the Celestial suit, like the Kirby-esque Celestial suit, I was like, yeah, baby. She's going to start getting weird.
They appeared like for a second.
It's not Galactus. People on the internet were like, "Whoa, is that Galactus?" No, Galactus is a cloud. Be very clear. Cinematically, Galactus is a cloud. He will not come in any other form. He is a cloud. All right.
Speaking of which, in the last episode of What If, when they end up spreading that thing that makes everything, the dead planet, come to life, I thought that was kind of interesting, where the Celestial's head started growing grass and things like that, and I was like, does that give birth again to the Celestial head by any chance?
Celestials have a Celestial seed, and you can bring life to a planet by planting a Celestial seed. And do we want to do this? I don't know if I can do this. I think I need Ian Kerner to do this.
I was just gonna say, do you need Ian?
What brings life to a planet? And I think the Eternals are roughly the gardeners of Earth. Is that the garden has been seeded with a Celestial seed. That is what happened. That is what brought life to Earth. And the Eternals' job is to just be the gardener and let it grow, but not necessarily get too involved until shit starts hitting the fan. And there's been all sorts of cool storylines. Like, I remember when they did the soft reboot to bring the Image creators, when they did Heroes Return. And when,
why do you have to bring that stuff up?
I know, but in the late 90s, stuff was not good. But you had Onslaught. So Onslaught was the character that was the amalgamation of, like, when Xavier went crazy and, like, amalgamated with Magneto and created Onslaught, which was like a super psychic, powerful mega character. And remember that storyline, like Franklin Richards, when the Fantastic Four returned to the mainstream MCU, like Franklin Richards helped save everybody from Onslaught because he was the only
he created
one who
this pocket universe where everybody
went, and that was like the Heroes Reborn stuff. And then he brought them back and, like, actually helped.
And
like,
no one had feet in that universe for some reason.
I think Franklin became Galactus or like removed the Celestial seed. Listen, the 90s sucked. All right, let's just admit, like, the 90s comics started to kind of suck, but there are parts that are fun. There are not a lot of them. But yeah, Fernando, I'm sorry.
I do remember.
No, it's all right,
I don't think
man.
It was the 90s.
I got it.
I think it made him in 10 years ago, maybe. I don't know. You'd have to look it up. But the Eternals had a great run by
Neil Gaiman.
Neil Gaiman Jr. and Neil Gaiman.
Yeah, that was a really good miniseries. I remember because that was kind of like my first time reading the Eternals. I'm like, oh, these are really cool. Someday when Marvel makes a cinematic universe, they should really use this. So,
do you think? Well, I'll ask you that, Chris. Because I have a differing opinion. As much as I love Neil Gaiman and I will read anything that John Romita Jr. draws, because I think he's one of the top 5 artists in comics. Tell me what the story was in that Eternals.
The story is that the Eternals, some of them couldn't even remember that they were Eternals. There were people that were trying to kill them, and then they realized that they were kind of immortal, but they started learning it very slowly, and it got really into depth about how they had like microscopic force fields around them that could prevent them from being killed, and ultimately it was about the war between them and the Inhumanoids, or whatever they were called. And
now,
they
as a writer,
they had a ritual battle towards the end, and the monsters got their dignity. And
as a writer, I'm going to ask you to adapt that to a screenplay.
Yeah.
I
don't have to.
Have you ever done that?
You tell me
you got a comic and you go backwards.
I mean,
to a script?
Listen. I remember reading that Neil Gaiman story and like the current Eternal story, and just being like, yeah, I don't know if this is, I don't know if the Eternals are for me. I mean, the thing with Jack Kirby is his relationship with Stan Lee and Marvel had started to deteriorate by the late 60s because they were just taking his stuff and rocking out with it. And so he had a secret part of his desk where he's like, you know what? I'm not getting any royalties. I'm not getting profit. When Jim Steranko came over and they gave him so much leeway on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Nick Fury, all the creators who had been there for 10 years and built Marvel were like, this Jim Steranko guy came over from advertising and they gave him the keys of the kingdom. They're kissing his butt. What about me? So Jack Kirby started keeping a drawer in his desk, supposedly, where he would put Darkseid and all of those characters that he later brought over to DC, because he was like, you know what? If they're not going to give me credit for all this stuff, if like Inhumans isn't my thing, I'm just going to start keeping this fourth world stuff to myself. And it wasn't until DC came calling and coaxed him to come over and work for the Distinguished Competition that we got those fourth world characters. Those came out because
and they said, bring your drawer that they obviously knew about.
They knew about it. It's like, dude, we know you're creating characters. We know you have all those ideas. Mm-hmm. Stop giving them to the company that doesn't give you royalties.
Yeah, they had like a Black Widow kind of plant in the Marvel offices, kind of looking around and seeing everything.
I was wondering if there's like some kind of corporate espionage between the two.
Absolutely. And Carmen, it was Carmen Infantino he moved Jack Kirby to San Diego. Like it was almost like you got to move to the other side of the freaking continent to get away with something. But Carmen Infantino was the guy who like helped run DC in like late 60s, early 70s, who's credited with bringing Jack Kirby over, mainly because of the rifts that had started to appear after Jim Steranko came over and just started, they literally gave him the keys to the kingdom, and everybody looked up and was like, yo, Stan, we've been busting our butts creating these huge comic characters for you, and you get, come on, man. And so that did not make a lot of friends.
Have you read the Jack Kirby biography that was done by Tom Scioli last year? It's a graphic novel that tells the whole life.
Oh, it's got pictures. I can read that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got pictures. I can read that.
It's a comic book. Don't worry about it.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's the life of the King of Comics. It was written and drawn by Tom Scioli. It's a great book, and it's so sad, dude. It's super sad.
A lot of those creators did not end up well.
Yeah. But you were forced to sign these deals. Like when you were gonna cash your check, you'd have to sign it in the back, and it said like you're giving away all your rights by signing this check. So you either got paid, or you didn't. Exactly. So it's a crap.
Or they probably would have found a way to keep it anyway, even if you didn't agree once you made it.
Chris, is that the kind of deal you forced Fernando into here for this?
Of course,
Kung Fu Dragon Master.
I think our business is private, and I don't think it's germane to the conversation.
We're very curious about like what the transaction is.
Okay,
I am not at liberty to say.
I am trying. Listen. Let me just look at this. Let's get back to the Rise of the Kung Fu Dragon Master, which is being kickstarted right now. Let's take a look at this Kickstarter, and mainly
just so we can pay Fernando.
What I'm looking for here is I'm looking for the title of the project as Mancini and Pinto's Rise of the Kung Fu Dragon Master, but I'm not seeing that Geekscape. I don't see any ownership on Fernando's part. I don't know.
Actually, none of our names are on that part.
Here.
Oh dear. Okay.
White Cat
Entertainment.
Just
acquire it.
Fernando, how much of White Cat do you have?
I am not at liberty to say at this moment.
Whose company's White Cat Entertainment?
That's mine, but again, like your company, Fernando did the logo.
Yeah.
Listen, what's that character called?
What's that character? Hey, listen. At least he remembers the name of your characters. At least Fernando has a respect for you to remember his creations.
That cat is named after my my old cat that was actually a white cat that lived almost 21 years. Who we named Avatar way before the movie. And she was actually my writing partner. She would come and like sit with me while I would write, and so I wanted to name the new company after her.
Okay. Well, what's your company going to be called, Fernando, after this this split that you'll have creatively over?
After everything I've signed, I have to call it Mancini Entertainment.
Yeah. I have really good lawyers.
Yeah.
Don't threaten us. We got Graham on the line here. He's going to join the podcast and call. No, I'm kidding.
Fernando's down there, and he's just like, "There's a reason why I say I don't see my family right now."
Chris is going to text me and be like, "Jonathan, what the fuck?" We got Graham Elwood joining the show right here. Just kidding. I love Chris. Chris is podcasting partner with.
We did
everything
10 years.
We're saying here are jokes.
Yeah, it's all a joke.
It's just so people at home know.
Fernando's a good dude. He just lives in Chile, so you can pay him less. I think is what we're talking about here. Wait, Jonathan, when do the jokes end? Please stop. Stop. They don't end. What I want y'all to do, though, the jokes will end when y'all finance this book. You go to whitecatentertainment.com.
Yep. We're at about 70, a little over 70%, about 13 days left. So we need the Geekscape army. Get us over to the win zone.
Let's go, Geekscape. I enjoyed the first bit of the story. I obviously enjoy the fantasy book y'all did, the Faraway book. I thought that was fantastic. And Geekscape, just go click through this Kickstarter and see if there's anything that strikes your fancy. You aren't just helping Chris Mancini, you're also helping our boy Fernando Pinto.
Yes.
Who's been with us from before Geekscape. He did the Geek Drum logo, and look at his artwork here. It's pretty fantastic. You can check it out by going to whitecatentertainment.com and clicking through this Kickstarter and helping him out.
Yeah, it's a fun book too. Like, it just had a lot of fun writing it, and going through the panels with Fernando is always really fun. And it was just like, I wanted to make sure it was funny, but had a lot of action, cool martial arts, but also kind of like that fantasy element of like Big Trouble in Little China and all those kind of like 80s buddy comedies too, but also the age we're in now, there's some elements of like toxic masculinity and how anger can kind of destroy you. So there's kind of like modern themes and like a retro package a little bit because I wanted to kind of put all those things together.
One thing that I'm seeing here, and I stopped the screen on a Geekscape, as I'll tell you audibly for you podcast listeners, is if you just pledge $10, you get the book. You get the digital copy of Volume 2.
That's better than some.
It's great. I think $10 is cool to get the story. But if you just do $20, you actually get the physical copy and it's signed. And I'm the guy who has to have the physical copy. I think for me, comics are something that I read in bed. It's tactile. I touch my comics. I smell my comics. I kiss my comics goodnight. It gets weird here, but I love comics.
Heidi just has to put like a piece of paper over her face and just be like, "Good night."
Heidi's fine. If Heidi ever gets annoyed with me, she's like, "Don't you have a comic to read?"
Yeah.
You know what?
It's like a pacifier.
What she'll do is she'll just like, if she wants to drop the hint, she'll just put a stack of comics by the couch.
Right.
She'll be like, "Here you go."
And
it's like
the hint. You need to go away now.
Yeah. Why don't you spend the night out here?
And I noticed too, you stopped on the signed physical copy. One of the things I wanted to do too is I didn't want to charge people extra for my signature because it's always like a lot of campaigns do more for signed. I wanted everyone to get the signature, so it's fine. I just made it sure, like, if you buy the book, I'm going to sign it.
I think it's great. I think it's really cool.
And you
can get Volume 1 too. You can get Volume 1 too if you missed it. That's an add-on, or there's tiers where you could get both together.
Let me take a look at this. Okay, awesome. So $20 you get the new book. $35 you get 2 signed physical copies of the book, so you can throw one at somebody, or just give it to a friend. But here's the tier we're talking about. $40, it's $20 a book. You get Volume 1 and Volume 2. and they're signed. You also get digital versions of that. So if you can read it digitally. You get the physical versions. So I think that works. And for $20, I mean, graphic novels, those collected trade paperbacks, they cost $20. So here you go. You got 2 of them for $40. So that math works out.
Math works out.
Bolt T says,
wait, we're just really hitting you on the numbers right now.
Bolt T says, Heidi puts a comic over her face and cuts the lips out. How dare you?
We said that she was a
Bolt
beard.
T, I gotta tell you.
Fernando got sad.
It depends on the comic. It depends on the comic. I will not kiss Batman comics. No, I think that those send the wrong message.
Yeah, no. From what I know, Batman does not do a lot of those things. So
I don't. No, Batman. Batman does not get physical.
He doesn't do
that's
anything.
what I hear on
doesn't go anywhere.
We're getting back to the Eternals again, aren't we?
Yeah, big time. No, Geekscape. If I'm being serious with y'all right now, go to whitecatenentertainment.com and check out the book and check out this Kickstarter and see how you can help out our boys Chris and Fernando. Y'all have your Shang-Chi tickets yet?
No, did you pre-order?
Hell yeah. We have a shorthand over here that basically when like a trailer comes up and we're into it,
you go straight to the pre-order.
Well, there's a group text that Ian is on with us, and the shorthand is Ian get tickets. Ian get tickets isn't literally like Ian get tickets, although sometimes it is. It's this looks good. Ian get tickets, which Geekscape is, feel free to say that when you join our Facebook group or find us on Instagram or Twitter. If something looks good to you, the shorthand is Ian, get tickets, because that's basically what we've been saying for years when anything is cool for us. And I heard that the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer dropped.
Just dropped.
Friend, Garrett Briones said that as we're recording this, the No Way Home trailer, Marvel's hand kind of got forced because there was a cell phone leak of the trailer without effects. So Marvel's like, let's clean this up and get it out there. So we're excited to watch that trailer. Once we wrap up here, I'll go immediately and watch that trailer and get all salivating. But it's probably Ian get tickets when it comes to Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm excited to see that trailer and see that movie. A lot of stuff coming at us. So again, did you get your Shang-Chi tickets?
Ian get tickets.
I have not.
I haven't got mine yet, but I'm definitely.
Our movie theaters literally just reopened where I live. Like ours were kind of close because we have the Pacific and the ArcLights, so they all like literally went out of business together. So ours just reopened. So I'm sure there's plenty of tickets left for a literally brand new movie theater. So I haven't gotten them yet, but I will.
Yeah, I don't think we're in too much of a rush. The ticket returns on Suicide Squad was disappointing. I love that movie, but there might have been 20 people in the entire theater, which I think for safety was fantastic.
Right.
For Warner Brothers was terrible. And Sony pivoted by pulling Venom and delaying it a bit to see if the Delta variant would pick it up a little bit more.
HBO Max, things kind of even out a little bit, I think. If a lot of people were watching it there, I don't think Warner was too upset about it.
No, I think what scared people was Sony being like, let's not release Venom quite yet because we don't necessarily have our online platform. And obviously Marvel saw it and was like, oh, we don't want to get sued by one of our stars again, so let's just go strict. Let's go strict theaters. Yeah, I'm being silly, but the truth is I don't know what the strategy really is with Shang-Chi being theatrical only. I'd love to see that movie in theaters. I heard it's great. I'm excited to see it.
We don't know what the window is now either. Like, have they announced like from theatrical to pay-per-view to Disney Plus yet what the window is? Or they kind of
they said 45 days from what I heard.
45 days. Okay.
45.
But we'll see. I mean, Geekscape is just so much content that we're going to be here for you to tell you all about it. We got shows across the network. I think we're up to like 14, 15 shows right now. We added an anime show called Waifus and Weeaboos to the network. So enjoyed that. I've wanted an anime show for a long time.
I like how you went like.
I listen. I tried listening. I listened to this show to approve it because it's our buddy Nick in Philly. I don't know what the F this guy's talking about. He's talking about anime. Like
this is a calling card, so that bring Jonathan on so you can explain.
He's talking about this stuff, but he's talking like a guy from Philly. And he's like, this motherfucker here, and da-da-da. And he's talking like a tough guy from Philly, and he's talking about anime. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell he's talking about. I just know I love hearing him talk about it because it's so funny. So check that out. Our network's growing. Check out our Netflix. Our Netflix. Check out
Netflix? Our YouTube. Oh, wow. That's an April 1st release there.
Check out our YouTube, our Facebooks, our Instagrams. But if you do one thing on this show, let's check out whitecatentertainment.com and go support our friends Chris and Fernando. That's what we got to do. Where can we follow you all on social media?
I'm actually at Chris J. Mancini on Twitter, and also just go to whitecatentertainment.com, and that has all the links to the other stuff.
What about you, Fernando?
For me, just go to linktree/Fernando Pinto Art, and you can find almost social media there, my comics, all my stuff.
Okay.
He's a fun follow on Instagram, I just have to say.
I love Fernando in all his forms. He's the best, man. We've been friends for over 15 years, dude. We got to keep collaborating. And Katie, how do we follow you?
At El Sassy Pants on all things except for TikTok. It's El Sassy Pants with a Z at the end.
And Geekscape, you can follow us on all the socials and check out all our shows on all your podcatchers. What really helps is if you hit the share button and tell your friends about Geekscape. It doesn't have to be this show. It could be any of the shows on our network. It could be our YouTube channel. It could be our Twitch. Really, whatever gets the Geekscape out there. We're just creating a fun community and fun environment where we can, help each other explore and get excited and be like, Ian, get tickets about all these cool releases that are coming at us literally every other day at this point. It's a great time to be a geek, and we're just kind of riding the wave. Geekscape, check out that Patreon too that keeps a roof over Matt Kelly's head. We have a lot of content coming to that Patreon right now in the coming months, so look forward to that. We're trying to make it worth your while. And for Katie, Fernando, and Chris, thank you all so much for coming on Geekscape and for being a part of it. I love you guys. And
Thanks,
I love
Jonathan.
you, Katie.
Thanks, Katie.
We will
see you, J-Dog.
see you on the flip on the next episode. Peace, my friends. Peace.
Hey, guys. Thanks.